Hey everyone, my name is Raugi, coming to you live from New Image. We're trying to make these videos like almost every day for you to watch, so please like them, subscribe to us, and ring that bell so you get your notifications. Alright? Awesome. Shout out to my man Amir over there who's controlling everything you don't see on the outside. Okay, so, oh wow. Looking at my screen here. Hi everyone. Yeah, right on, right on. Great. I'm doing great everyone. And I hope everyone at home is doing great too. Yeah, it's strange times, but we adapt. We move forward, right? So what I'm going to talk about today is, hi. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today, the focus will be about live theater acting and on-camera acting. Maybe like, what's the difference? Can you do both? You know, whatever questions you may have. I know some of you out there already do live theater, as well as TV and film acting. That's great. So I guess the first thing I want to say is, yes, I think actors can do both. Of course, actors can choose. You know, some actors just want to do one or the other, concentrate on a particular discipline or a particular technique, and of course, that's fine. But if you want to do both, I'm saying you can. I am an actor who does do both. I was trained primarily you know, for live theater, to tread the boards, as it were. And that was, you know, that was a long time ago. And I started my career in theater, and I started to audition for TV and film, and I didn't have a lot of guidance. And I realize now that I probably just needed a little bit of guidance, and I would have probably succeeded in both mediums a bit more easily. So, you know, a lot of notes that I was getting from casting for TV and film was that it's a little too big. You know, maybe tone it down 50%. Okay, maybe tone it down 50% more than that. And I just wasn't understanding, you know. So I was like out here, and I'm like, yeah, I'm auditioning, and then I'm like toning it down, toning it down, and then I just became dead, as it were, right? So this is I find a lot of actors that I teach and I coach that are trying to do both, or transitioning from live theater to TV and film. This is something that they bump up against a lot. Because you get that note to do less. The eyebrows are moving too much. The performance is too big. And what often ends up happening is that the actors just starts to shrink who they are on the inside and start to deaden or do less on the body, and then those two things combined just kill your performance for the camera. So how you want to start thinking about it is all this power and emotion and action that I have going on inside me, that this quote-unquote bigness that I'm living in for a live theater performance, or like if you're performing in a band or dancing on a stage live with people watching you in real time. How do I move all of that into a box, essentially, your close-up, that my head is in. So there's some psychology to think about. Maybe even some philosophy. So as we talk, obviously, I'm used to teaching by feel. And I mean vibration, like with live people in front of me. So I gauge the room and I start to feel like, oh, okay, there's maybe some confusion, there's some resistance, whatever. So I'm not there with you, obviously. So I'm asking you all, as you watch this live stream, to think about the things I'm asking you to think about. So when you think about something like that, like, you know, I'm framing my head in a box and all this stuff that's happening inside me has to come through to the camera in this way, how do you feel about that? So those of you who know me know that I work with a few simple concepts. I say simple, it doesn't mean they're easy to do. So I do believe in being curious all the time about you and your work and your art and the world, like everything. The hope is that the curiosity leads to you wanting to know. And you just have to remember that being curious means without judgment and with full acceptance. That sounds easy. However, the practice of it can be difficult. So I ask you this question, so what do you feel about that? Putting your head in a box and then acting. Show me. What's in your heart? Show me. How do you feel about that? You gotta be honest. If it's the most exciting thing in the world to you, then it's like, yeah, I feel excited about that. And why? The why is not a challenge. The why is the continuing probing of curiosity. Or, alternately, I ask you that question, you go like, honestly, that terrifies me. I hate that notion. It doesn't mean you don't want to be an actor. It doesn't mean you can't be an actor. It means you're being honest with yourself. So I go, yeah, this is a close-up. I'm used to doing this, but now I got to do all that in here. And if I'm going to be honest about it, it terrifies me, or it makes me angry, or whatever. Because only then you'll be able to start going, okay, great. So that terrifies me. Why? And again, it's not a challenge. You know, we're so used to being challenged and challenging people with that very simple word. Why? But it is potentially the most powerful thing you can do when you are in your craft. Breaking down a script, creating character, picking objectives, actions, emotions, however you want to work. There are so many techniques out there. I'm very focused on certain ones, like, you know, objectives, actions, that kind of thing. But many people, you know, do different things, like sense memory, whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're striving for authenticity to tell the story all the time. So, invoking the concept of why is very important. without challenge. If you can get used to that, you can feel more solid in your craft. You'll get triggered less often. That includes from yourself and by other people. So you can stay in the fold of your craft for longer. So you find these things out about yourself, you ask yourself real questions, become curious, and then once you have certain answers, you go, okay, why does it make me angry? Why am I afraid? And then you continue to go deeper, right? It reminds me of a time when blah, blah, blah. And you know what? Like, yeah, people go, well, that sounds like therapy, you know? And to that I say, if you need therapy, get therapy. That's not a huge deal, right? What I'm talking about, though, is giving yourself the best fighting chance to get the most honest work out of yourself. And that's okay. If you don't agree with it, that's totally fine, too. I am not so arrogant as to think I've got the only answer out there, right? We've got a whole world of people. Everyone thinks differently. Okay, so thanks for the comments, folks. So the reason I say that is because working in live theater requires a certain type of thinking, and working on camera requires a certain type of thinking. It's all acting in the end. It's just how you're going to use that power that changes. So the philosophy has to change as you move from one thing to the other. Is that making sense so far to everyone? I hope. You can type in questions if you want, and I'll try to answer them as I go along, or answer them later, or maybe they'll get answered. Great, or they'll get answered as I continue. So I've made 2 very rudimentary videos, which I'll show you later. Amir will pull them up for me on my iPhone. One is an example of doing something live, and then using the exact same material, I try to put it into like a close-up with a bit of soundtrack, and so that you can see the difference between something live and something on camera. So the problem with that example, though, is the live example is actually on camera. And when we get to it, I'll say it again. The live example could potentially pass for a wide shot, in a movie or whatever. Although when you see it, it's still a little bit, quote unquote, big. So more on that when we get to it. I think a big fundamental difference I want to talk about between stage acting and on-camera acting is, what is the difference in the storytelling? And for the most part, okay, and you may know this already, but I think it bears repeating, even if you do know. Because once we're in the fire of it, and I mean like the audition or when we're on set, it's very easy to forget these fundamental things. It certainly is very easy to forget when you're on stage live with a bunch of people in front of you. So a big fundamental difference in storytelling is, for live theater on stage, the storytelling through the actor is pretty much what you're saying and how you're saying it. Okay? Just hang on to that, because I know it's like, yeah, what else could it be? But the difference is things like this. On stage, if I want to do a close-up on you, I dim the lights on everyone else on stage, nobody else talks, and I put one light on you. And even then, I can't force the whole audience to look at you, but the hope is everyone looks at you, and you talk, and you tell me your story. Right? I'm using my hands, and if it's live, you would be feeling what's coming out of my heart. You would feel my intentions. That would be the goal, at any rate. That the audience feels what's happening in real time. Okay? Now when we move to the camera, we're essentially telling the story through pictures. Moving pictures. Images. Soundtrack. Providing you don't look away from the screen, you are seeing whatever I put in front of you. So now, if you are analyzing your scene correctly for your audition or on camera or whatever, you'll start to see like, oh, this is what's going on right now in this scene. Right? There's description. We're in the kitchen. Mom is talking to her daughter. It's a serious conversation. Mom is upset. Daughter's trying to figure out what's going on. So now you got to think. We're in the kitchen. It's daytime. Sun's pouring in. Like, all this stuff is telling the story. Where do you fit in as the actor? Well, I just say the words. Okay, that's part of it. But what part of your insides are you bringing out in that moment without the use of your whole body? Because it's not a live performance. We are recording, filming, to manipulate later even through editing. Right? Now a lot of people go, oh man, that's like a lot to think about. Right? To which I say, yeah, so think about it. It's like, it's our job. Right? We're actors. The more you can train yourself, and I use that word train because I want everyone to understand that everyone can do it. You have to put the time and you have to have the desire. But every actor can learn to just see things a little bit differently. Improve your acting, improve your auditioning, you name it. So I know I talked a lot just now, and I dropped a whole bunch of concepts and stuff about 2 different formats. But that's pretty much it. When you're live, you're connecting with people live, in real time. You're using your voice primarily, and lighting, soundtrack, sound design, set design, that's all helping as well. Costuming, makeup, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like poo-pooing anything on any side, okay? There's a whole team all the time. I'm talking about the actor. On stage, it's your responsibility to use full voice, to get it out there. Sorry, Amir, I'm blowing that out. Some theaters are 600, 900 seats. You gotta reach them, right? Then on camera, it's the same acting, but it's in containment. And you don't get to use your whole body to do it. It's about how you are using the frame that you know you're in. Pause for effect. Reading. Great, so let me take a look here. I was wondering about being more expressive in close-up without sacrificing truth. I often don't use my face to express enough. And then other people, and I express through my face too much. Okay. So this is something I want to talk about, and I could be biased because I am a live theater performer as well. In saying this, and I don't have to be right, but for me, I find this truthful and the case more often. Live theater tends to be that once you understand that you can, you're allowed to and must use your whole body and things like that, it becomes more accessible more quickly. All I have to do is really say, hey, can you cross from stage left to stage right and pick up that book? And you physically have to do it. You're crossing like, 20 feet. And the actor body adjusts very quickly. Because it feels more, and here's this word I'm going to use. Be wary of this word, but I'm going to use it so that we can learn how to be wary of it. It feels more natural to get up from a chair, sit, cross 20 feet, pick up a book and sit down and start reading. I'm watching you on stage, I'm like, oh, okay. That person just got up, walked away from that other person, sat down, and is now ignoring them over there. So that feels, it's got a more natural feel. Is it nerve-wracking? Do I get nervous? Yes, all that stuff, right? So, but now I'm going to put you in a close-up, right? So we're moving to the world of camera now. So in the wide, I see you get up and walk. Cut to the chair, you sit into your mark and work close up on you. So here's where the word natural, in my opinion, and this may cause a whole bunch of backlash, which I'm happy to take. That's where the word natural does not come into play. You sit into your close-up and for a camera, and it's not natural. It's not natural for anyone to come this close to your face just to see what you're doing. Unless it's a very intimate moment, or it's like you're a very curious child, or something like that. The way we make and watch movies and TV, in North America anyways, is the storytelling is through that format, right? Wide, medium, close. Wide, medium, close, right? Over the shoulder, closer, close-up, close-ups. So a lot of us start using the word natural, like, just be natural. Just be, I'm in my close-up. Just be natural. To which I say, please don't. Because that's where you're going to get your face moving thing. Like, you know, I'm being natural right now, and we move around, we do things like this all the time, but in the close-up, it's like killing us. You know, unless it's some kind of experimental or art film, right? Which I'm not against. But like that kind of thing. So now, the psychology becomes, how do I do that? How do I make it look natural? So we can attack it from the outside in, right? You think about your eyeballs as windows or picture frames to the picture that's inside. And the eyebrows are frames. You know, you can say, don't move your face. You can say all kinds of stuff. And what's required is to find how to be active. So that on the insides, hopefully you've done your work so that your character, you know what your character wants. You know what your character is doing to get what they want. And that's the thing you want to hold on to and express. There are many, many different ways and techniques to do that, which I may get into a little bit, but the main focus of this talk today is just kind of like the differences between live theater acting and on-camera acting. But that's one of the fundamental differences. When you're doing a live performance on stage, it feels more natural. You are actually moving around a bit more natural. What may feel a bit unnatural is you have to project a bit more. And when you're standing, depending on what type of theater it is, you're trying to maybe stay open to the audience a bit more. Which again is not something completely unheard of for camera. You know, we'll often hear, hey, can you open up the camera? Can you like lean on your right leg or something? And we cheat that a little bit. And then for on camera, we cannot use the term natural, psychologically or philosophically in the same way. We want it to look natural. And while you're looking natural, we want what you're saying to be authentic and connected to what the character wants on the inside. Pause for effect. Are there any warm-ups, exercises? Okay. I never thought, okay. Yes. When doing auditions for Skype or Zoom, yeah, these things are very, very helpful to think about. Warm-ups, exercises, well, yes, I mean, you know, I'm trained as a theater actor, so all the training is encompassing warm-ups and exercises all the time. Vocal exercises, open sounds, things that create resonance inside the body, vibration, so that to train your voice to reach people so that they don't just hear what you're saying, but they feel what you're saying. I know this sounds rudimentary, but you know, flexibility and strength training, if your outsides can be flexible and strong, you have a better chance of your insides being flexible and strong, which is what actors need. Rituals, that's an interesting word. You know, I mean, a lot of actors have rituals, a lot of professional sports athletes and stuff, they have rituals. I can't say that I have any particular rituals, but there are things that I do to make sure I stay focused. For a long time, and by a long time I mean at least a decade, I actively practiced meditation, and that's me sitting full lotus, hands a certain way, whatever it is. I found certain Buddhist chants that I enjoyed that literally resonated with me, and I practiced that for a long time, and it really helped me to focus. It really helped to hone my voice, to feel what my voice feels like inside my body. And that sounds like a very simple thing, but think about this for a second. If your body is only used to feeling the vibration of your voice only when you're yelling because you're angry, then it will be difficult for you to project your voice in a theater without it triggering your body into thinking you're angry. When you're actually not angry, you're happy. But then that screws with your whole performance. So I trained my voice in that way for like 6 years. Constantly tapping in to myself, going, whoa, this is making me so upset right now. What's going on? And then invoking curiosity and exploring without judgment and with full acceptance where I was at in that moment. Of course, if you can, come from a place of love for yourself and for others, if you can. If not, work on getting there. Because, I'm not afraid to say I was, and maybe still am, a really angry person. And to know me now, maybe it's surprising to you, although I think most people, once I say it, they kind of go, oh yeah, I can see it. But that was my only way at one point. But through that journey, I found new ways, mainly open heart and love is more powerful than anything else I've experienced to date. And if I experience something more powerful, I will share it with you, because I'm not a hoarder of information in that way. Okay, let me check in here, make sure. Great. Okay, good. So, that's kind of the difference about that. So, maybe now might be a good time to show you the videos. So let me just set it up a little bit. So video one, and we'll play them back to back. Video one is me. It's as wide as it's like head to toe, and it's me saying like this short monologue. And I try to do it as best I can to show you what it might look like on stage. The difference is when you watch it at home, is it's gonna be hard for you to feel what I'm putting out into the room. But that's okay. It's really just to help you see techniques. And then the video two is me in a close-up with some soundtrack, same short monologue, and then trying my best to look natural with my head contained in a box. Okay, so watch the two, and then we'll discuss that. Okay? So Amir, if you don't mind, anytime you're ready.
Yeah. Look at me now. Stuck in my image. Waiting for a kid who's probably just like me. Just like I was then. A young blood. And I gotta off him. I gotta roll him or he'll roll me. We're fighting ourselves. Just like turning the blade on ourselves. Suicide, man. Maybe little Willard was right. Stick a gun in your fucking mouth and pull the trigger. That's what we're doing here. He's my brother, and I gotta kill him. He's gotta kill me.
Yeah. Look at me now. Stuck in my image, waiting for a kid who's probably just like me, just like I was then, a young blood. And I gotta off him. I gotta roll him or he'll roll me. We're fighting ourselves. Just like turning the blade on ourselves. It's suicide, man. Maybe little Willard was right. Stick a gun in your fucking mouth and pull the trigger. That's what we're doing here. He's my brother and I gotta kill him. He's gotta kill me.
Great. Okay. So, I hope you can, oh sorry Amir, there's a screen up on the, I can't see the question. So, I'm hoping that the example is clear. Let me ask a question. Thanks everyone. So just so you know, okay, I've been in the biz like 30 years. It's still a very vulnerable thing for me, even to just share a little thing like that. It's difficult, I think, for instructors to share their work. But I want you to understand that I'm like you. You're like me. We're actors. I have more experience than you or most of you out there watching right now. That's like the main difference. Okay? When I'm teaching you, when I'm trying to, do a live stream or something like this, I'm trying to help you process what's happening to you. Find a way so that you can either find your own way or use the techniques that I'm talking about to process your experience so that you can change that into true knowledge, maybe even wisdom one day. But we're actors. So it's just as vulnerable for me to show you those two little videos I think the main difference is, you know, I've been doing it for longer, so I'm kind of more used to it. And I'm in that place of love almost all the time. That if there were criticism or even cruelty about it, my love could handle it. Whereas 30 years ago, it couldn't. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. Yeah, thank you, Amir, for doing that. Thank you everyone. Yeah, music, royalty-free music, pretty cool. Okay, so what did you notice was the main difference between the two? Like the first thing that just hits you. Would a close-up shot seldom be used to display the same kind of rage and emotion depicted in the first video? I don't know if I would say seldom. I think it could be depicted in a close-up, but I think that's a good observation. We might have done a slightly wider, more open close-up, so that I would have a bit more room to to get that rage or whatever in there. Voice, size of performance, that's the main, okay. Physicality, yeah. Tone expressed through video, range of your voice, great. Yeah. Some other things to point out, which I tried to do, was diction, pronunciation. Right? Yeah, look at me now, stuck in my image, waiting. So when you're doing a live performance, your diction kind of matters. Kind of matters. Kind of matters. The main difference to me, much more physical embodiment, inner conflict. Great. Great. Just read. I guess you all can read that. I hope. Right, Amir? Everyone can read it? Yeah, okay. So, what was I saying? Diction. So if you're playing to, you know, a seat, like a 100-seat house, 200, 600, 800, doesn't matter. Your diction will become very important. Right? So if I say very important, I-M-P-O-R-T-A-N-T, important. I'm hitting those two T's pretty hard. H-A-R-D, hard. Important, pretty hard. Right? I want to do that because as my voice, the vibration, my sound wave travels through, the stream may start to deteriorate. So by the time it gets to the 300th seat, they're hearing important. Hopefully they're hearing it quite clearly still, but that's what I'm careful of, important. And if they are hearing my super clear, crisp articulation and diction, and hopefully I'm saying it so that my face is not looking like this, I'm still in character, but I'm still using as precise diction and pronunciation as I can. The size of the live experience can and will support that. Right? Bear in mind, for a piece of live theater, you are rehearsing. In the professional world, we're rehearsing like 3 weeks, 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, before we open in front of an audience. So there's another, major difference between live theater and camera. For the on-camera experience, and it's happening more and more these days, you may get a rehearsal, but it may be more like a table read or something like that. But then it all kind of changes when you're on set anyways, right? If we're talking about a sitcom, then that's more like the theater world, where you will rehearse for 2 days. All your blocking, all your shots, you'll get used revisions to your script, and then you'll film it, complicated shots on a Thursday, and then on the Friday you'll film it live in front of an audience. So that process is slightly different, and that I think is a whole other topic for a whole other day. But if I'm just wanting to be really super clear about that kind of stuff, you know, that's one on-camera place where you are using live theater techniques at the same time, but then not fully. So then when I move to camera and I'm in a close-up, it doesn't look natural for me to say, yeah, look at me now, stuck in my image. You know, even though I probably kind of did that a little bit for effect on mine. But then the rest of it, right? Waiting for a kid who's probably just like me, instead of waiting for a kid who's probably just like me, waiting for a kid who's probably just like me. So because the camera is closer to us, we do not have the support of a live container. This is going to be recorded and edited, manipulated later to fit the image that I want to use to tell the story. So we need to make it look more natural. Okay. I'm just reading Phil's question here. I hope I've talked enough about diction. That's something you can practice. Again, everything I'm talking about is 100% attainable. I am not special in any way, except for the fact that I practiced for decades. And I think I was lucky as a young actor that I didn't know anything, except I knew that if I didn't start, I'd never get there. So there were lots of teachers and actors that I admired. And I'm like, man, why can't I see it the way he just sees it? But I was able to go, well, man, if I don't start now, I'm never going to get to that point. And so because I was able to, you know, hang on to that philosophy, it really got me through to where I am now, to the understanding that I have. Okay, Phil's question. How about when you have match performance in the sizes of the performance in the master? Great. So the challenge for me is not being able to use my body the way I did. So what I need to do is organize my insides in a way so that through my eyes and my voice, even though contained, is showing the same thing. Bear in mind, we're gonna cut back and forth, right? We'll cut to the wide, we'll cut to the close, we'll match as best as we can. But the thing to remember here, and I'm going to talk about an actual technique in a second, but the thing to remember here is that the example I was showing you is what's live and then what's on camera. If I were to do the wide shot, I guess, of my monologue on camera and the close-up, I would be more subdued for sure. My body, everything would have more containment, even in the wide. So how do you match? And we have different techniques, you know, we teach, right? Some people do an emotional prep, and some people have said, yeah, it looked like it was more emotionally charged, right? A big part of the action of the acting part that I think is important is allowing your character, or knowing what your character wants and what your character is doing to get what they want. So for me, it's not about the emotion. And at this stage, I'm confident whatever emotion needs to be there will be there if I have done the proper work in finding out who I am, what my character wants, and what my character is doing to get it. So then that will bring the dynamicism of the performance through the voice and the eyes. If on my inside, I'm going for what I want. Now that is not something foreign to any human being. You've seen human beings in a very intense talk with each other and nothing is moving. They're barely breathing. They just want the other person to hurt so badly or to understand them so badly. They're just so focused on them. But if you put your hand between them, you could feel something is happening. And that's what you're looking to do for your on-camera work. Except I will say this, the only kind of rules I have is that you are not allowed to hurt yourself and you're not allowed to hurt other people. If you think about that, that covers a lot of ground. Not everybody agrees with that, and that's okay, but that's what I think. I do this thing called the Optic Nerve, and I'm happy to share it. It's very, silly to some, but I love it because I was trained as a stage actor primarily. So I am used to physicalizing my actions. So for example, if I have a line, if I have a scene where I'm saying things like, you want a piece of pie? How about a glass of milk with that? But the scene is set up like, I want this person to leave. Those are the words I have because it's scripted, right? For whatever the reason, the scenario, I'm not allowed to say, can you just leave? Can you just get out of here? I want you to leave. I'm not allowed to say that, right? Maybe it's, I've committed a murder. It's a detective come to my house. I'm trying to play it cool. I've just baked a pie. And so I say, oh, hello, detective. And I'm in my head, my character's like, get out of here, get out of here. I just want this guy to leave. But the only words I'm allowed to say are, would you like a piece of pie? How about some milk with that? So it gets complicated because the story says, my frame, right? The story I'm telling with the pictures, like I have to make it look nice. Like I can't be suspicious. So I have to say it like, oh, hello, detective. Would you like a piece of pie? How about a glass of milk? And it's got to be just enough so that when we cut to him, he goes, something strange is going on here. Same thing would be for the wide, right? For the wide, maybe, you know, you get to see me like make a little fist or something like that, right? So I'm trying to like match my insides, okay? So now because I'm a physical actor, it's hard for me to think solely emotionally. And I know this about myself. So in fact, I don't relate to that at all. So I need to act physically. Now in a close-up, I don't get to do physical things. So I got to move into my optic nerve. And I need to visualize things. And I need to visualize my physicality. And I know this about myself, so I'm working with my true self and finding the best techniques I can to make my acting as strong as possible for the camera. So on my optic nerve, that's that big nerve from your eyeball into the brain, right? Those old kung fu movies gets plucked out. I have to imagine myself, a tiny me. And those of you I've taught, we work with this technique lots and lots and lots. But for those of you who haven't, I'm sharing it with you right now. A very tiny Raugi standing on my optic nerve. So because my imagination is like very vivid, I see things very vividly in my mind. And when I see them, it invokes feelings in my heart and in my body. And if I'm really being free with myself, then it alters my breathing pattern. And it makes me hold tension in certain places. And so forth and so forth. So I imagine that tiny Raugi standing on my optic nerve, looking out the window of my eyeballs. And the thing you must understand, and I think this is true whether you're working with a tiny you on the inside or not, the tiny Raugi is not bound by any laws of nature or man. Just think about that for 1 second, okay? Because it's a concept that's really big, and that no human being I know does not have to follow. So the tiny you is not bound by any laws of nature or man. And to add to that, the tiny you can and must do everything in their power to get the point across, to tell the story, to get what you want, whatever. The tiny you can and must do everything in its power to tell the story, get what it wants. That sounds really strange. I feel very vulnerable putting it out there and saying it, but that's okay. I'm totally comfortable with my vulnerability. But I put it out there for you all to judge, freely and openly. But to that I say, judge with an open mind, judge with acceptance, and judge with real curiosity. I'll definitely be trying this. Yeah, try it. That for me solves the problem between matching wide to my close-up. Right there. In the wide, I get to use my body a bit more. Often don't even really get to see my eyes. It's really more about cutting away to, I'm breathing into this wide place. And then we come in here. This is where we're telling a lot of our stories. So by using my optic nerve technique, And I say I mean, it's not, I don't think it's new thinking. I just haven't really read it in a book or anything. And I'm certainly not, it's not a patent. But by using my technique in that way, because that's how I work, and I have found a lot of actors respond really well to this technique, because most actors have a great imagination. And most actors want to do something. Most actors understand acting is action. Acting is, we're moving, we're going for what we want. We have an objective and I'm gonna get it. So a lot of actors like it, you know, so that when you get the note, it's a bit big. Then you don't have to just kill yourself on the inside and cut the nerves to your muscles on the outside. You can go in, invoke your tiny self, get on your optic nerve, look out through the windows of your eyeball, and play your actions or whatever. The example I use all the time is if I'm saying, you know, something like, let me out. Let me out. Right? It's clear what I want. I will make the tiny me rip his arm off his body and start smashing it at the back of the window of my eyeballs. So that's what's happening as I'm saying the line, let me out. Smash it and smash it, right? And that image is high intensity, right? Arm is ripped out, blood splattering all over the place. Tiny me's bleeding out, and I'm smashing the back of my eyeball with my bloody arm, going, let me out, let me out. And then you can say those same lines, right? I'm totally drugged, I'm fighting, right? And I'm mostly paralyzed, and the tiny me is just scratching at the back of my eyeball, saying, let me out. Let me out. So you can, you know, you can change it up pretty quickly in real time when you're in the audition room or on set, you know. Casting director says, great, let's just see it a different way, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, different way, no problem, right? So, I'm just reading this, right? Yeah, intense visualization of objective, yes. Tactic or action under the line, yeah. Yes, that is right. Yeah. Liam, according to what you just wrote, it doesn't sound like you're confused. But I can continue. So, to make it even more accessible, when I'm practicing at home, I do it physically as best as I can. Obviously, I can't rip my own arm off, you know. But I'll do as much of my prep as I can physically. So if I'm like slapping or punching as my intention or my action under the line, I will do it physically at home and combine it as I learn my line. Why am I saying that word so strangely? Because I don't want you to memorize your lines. We use that word, but in my opinion, it's the worst word to use. You need to learn your lines. And the only way to really learn your lines is to start at text analysis Who am I? What am I doing? What do I want? Right? All these fundamentals of acting. Once you're in that place and you're learning your lines, if you can be matching your actions to when you're learning, it's very easy after that to transfer all that physical, atomic, what your atoms know, into the tiny you. And then the tiny you can take it even further. Any questions about that? Great question. So how would tiny Raugi change between film and theater? Would the tiny Raugi be the same for the monologue? Or would you have different? Okay, so great question. So it is still all acting in the end, right? Except how we're going to do it. So if I'm going to do for live theater, how I'm going to prepare is the same way. I'm going to prepare who I am, what do I want, what's my objectives, what am I doing, and I will practice physically. But for live theater, I'll actually see what physicality that I've just explored that came out of my body can I actually use on stage. The same could be said for on-camera work, I suppose, except when you do that transference, you'll find a lot of your big physicalities become internal gestures. Anyways. But for live theater, that's what I would do. So if I'm like, if I'm going, would you like a piece of pie? How about some milk with that? Right? And I'm doing it live. And, I've opened the door, he's standing there, right? I may decide, remember, because we have rehearsal time, I may decide to just stand there, right? So the whole audience can see me standing, can see that I've opened the door for the detective, and I just stand there. I don't let him in, and I say very nicely, well, hello, detective. Would you like a piece of pie? How about a glass of milk? And I just stand there. Very clearly, I don't want him to come in. I can get away with that on stage, right? I bring that moment as part of my work to rehearsal. We work it, we try it out with my scene partner, with the director, and then it's a collaboration in that way. But if I'm doing that same scene on camera, as the director, I've probably shot listed that whole scene, and I know exactly where everyone has to go because I've made pictures. So I've got the open door, they meet picture, and then boom, oh, holy crap, right? And then we probably just cut to, boom, he's walking in. So like I'm just making shot lists that's predetermined. So I hope that answers that question. Well, what would I do? The tiny Raugi can exist anytime, right? In stage or camera work, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt our work, right? In fact, on stage, my physicality is doing what it wants, but I'm still pretty close to my scene partner. And if I got my tiny Raugi working at the same time, that's going to help them. They can see me, so that's going to help them to fight for what they want more easily. Okay. Great. Good. I hope that answers that question. Anything else you want to ask? I can keep talking, but I just want to make sure, because I feel like I've covered a lot of stuff right now, and I just want to make sure everyone's doing okay here. Okay, so Everything I'm talking about, yeah. Okay, great. Everything I'm talking about requires practice. And I know that sounds maybe silly. However, I ask you to examine, and you can start, after we get off this online streaming, you can start at 7 p.m. tonight. And observe one of your 24 hours. 7 p.m. tonight to 7 p.m. tomorrow. And just observe what's going on inside you. What are you thinking? How are you thinking? Are you still training as an actor? You heard that phrase, how people say like they don't like to bring their work home. And I agree with that to a certain extent. If you're playing like a serial killer or, just a horrible, like something really difficult, yeah, please, don't bring that person home. Right? Your characters that you portray on stage or on camera belong there. They don't belong in your home. And I know that's my philosophy that I'm talking about right now. But all I can share with you is what I know. However, your work as an actor is 100% intertwined with your life. It's inescapable. So how you live your life affects your acting life. And that may not be a popular thing to say. However, I believe it to be true. So if you're interested in at least staying at the same level of actor as you are right now, my hope is that you want to improve, to become deeper, to have more access to authenticity. You will be doing this work with and on yourself all the time. So over the next, those 24 hours, just take a look. With curiosity, no judgment, and acceptance. If you can, defenselessness. That's a tough one. If you can be defenseless with yourself, that would be even more access. I know that's hard, defenselessness, because this is coming from a guy who was angry and violent in his youth. So the whole concept of vulnerability and being defenseless did not even exist in my vocabulary, not even joking. I had to look up what vulnerable meant. So this is what I'm saying is required. That type of examination. And from that, you will get answers. Some answers you'll like, some answers you won't. But in the end, it doesn't matter whether you like them or you don't. Because if those are the answers that are in there, then those are the things you have to work with. Okay? I didn't say fix. I said work with. Right? A lot of us default to the word fix, and again, if you know me, I am very cautious of the words that I use on myself in my internal dialogue. And I think that's a very important thing that actors need to consider. And really, if you're going to move from different, like live theater, on camera, the different philosophies, you really got to watch how you're talking to yourself in your own head. So, you know, you say like, oh yeah, that's true. I like what Raugi's saying. I'm going to fix that. But you know, in our English language, that word implies that something's broken. And I'm not going to pretend to know everyone in the whole world, but I don't believe there are so many broken people in this world. We're just used to saying that to ourselves because, you know, it was said to us at some point. But if you can work with what's going on inside you, you will get so much closer to your authenticity as an actor. And that's what we need. We need that out there. We don't need everyone to show us how everyone knows the same techniques. That's not interesting. Do you need to know the techniques? Oh yeah. Do you need to practice? Yes, of course. But ultimately, we need to know who you are. What do you bring? How do you interpret? What's your truth? And then shove in objectives, actions, this is the scenario, character, and go. And then we'll see from there. Yeah. If it's a close-up and you want to use your body as if you were live, but where the camera... Okay. Yeah, great question. Yes, you can use your body in a close-up. However, I find it very difficult to move my body in any meaningful way when I'm in a close-up where it's not affecting my close-up. And if you, and I'm not saying this as a joke, if you can actually move your body without moving your head at all in the close-up, how much is that helping you? And it's probably a nightmare for sound. So you might want to find ways, right? You might want to find ways to physicalize on a smaller level to help remind you of things, right? You could, like, you know, make a tiny fist. You could squeeze 2 fingers together. You could put one hand on your lap. You know, if it's the whole pie thing, you know, maybe I touch a napkin with my hand. Whatever. But work with what works for you. But, you know, I'm not sure being fully physical would help a close-up. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, wiggling your toes, right? I mean, it's so unique to everyone, right? We are exploring who we are as actors. I know the main focus was, you know, live theater and on-camera acting, which I hope I've covered quite a bit. But then it all comes back to you as an actor, right? Who am I? What is my authentic self? How can I find who I am and bring that to my work? Right, I think it is important not to twitch in a close-up or using your hands. Great. So to that, that's a good point. But to that I would say, this is where the exploration of getting to know who you are is important. Am I twitching because I'm uncomfortable or nervous? Am I moving my hands because I'm nervous or I don't know what's going on? Or is it part of the character? And this is tough because I'll direct something for camera or stage, and the actor could say, well, I think my character would do this, right? But then I'm looking at my frame and I'm going, but the picture I'm setting up to tell the story doesn't fit that. So then to that, I may have to go, I appreciate that, it's just not looking quite right in this frame, can we try something else? So the more your movements, your twitches, or whatever you want to talk about, are authentic to you and your character, the more likely it's not going to look like a twitch or using my hands too much. Or you will have at least a bit more, dare I say, the word control over what gets seen more or less. And again, this is in conjunction with your director when you're working on camera. You know? So we do have to rely on our team to help us out. Eagles. Yeah. Yeah. It's true. I mean, ultimately, it is whatever is useful to you, as long as it doesn't hurt you or others. I'm just not into that. I just don't think that doesn't make sense to me at all, and I think it hurts the craft when you do that, if you do that. Yes, for men too. Okay, so let me take a look at my notes to make sure I covered everything I wanted to cover. Yeah, I have written down here, what is the moment, what is my moment, what is the moment you're in now? I mean, we hear this a lot, right? You know, I want you to stay in the moment, you know, this is the moment. And the moment can mean so many different things for different people. And I want to tell you that if you are at least striving for your internal process, you know, to be who I am, curiosity, all these techniques I've talked about, in my opinion, you have the best chance of being in the moment if you can be there all the time. Because then you will be open and you won't be looking to guard yourself all the time. And you will be open to suggestion. And if you can be in the place of love, then you won't be afraid to be hurt. So that you can be actually acting, having done, okay, with the caveat of having done all your work, right? You've created your character, you've learned your lines, you've worked out what you want, what you're going to do to get it, your relationships to the people, your environment, all that stuff. And you're on stage, you're rehearsing, or you're on set and you're filming. And then we cut, and the director can literally say anything to you, and you'll be able to do it. Like, just take a second to realize that. how good that feels. How free that true collaboration is. As the director, I see the big picture. As the actor, you're filling in the spots that I really need you to fill in. I'm open, you're open. I'm in the power of love, you're in the power of love. Curiosity, curiosity. And I just have to say, I can say anything and you can do anything. You know, I can say anything and you can do anything. Like what? That's amazing to me. You know, that's our business right there. That's our craft. It's not casual. It requires care and courage and love. Okay, the kind of soapbox there for a second, but it's everything I believe in. So, you know, if you worked with me before, you know, and I've said this to you, I'm not going to lie to you. I can only tell you what I know, what my truth is. But I'm not a jerk, you know, right? I'll try to use specific language with you so that you learn how to use specific language with yourself, right? So instead of saying something like, you know, that wasn't very good, like, that's not helpful at all. And some of you may even use that type of language with yourself in your own head. So take a moment to think about, what is it exactly that you want to say? So if I see someone's performance and I'm tempted to say, well, that wasn't very good. But what do I really mean by that? I mean, I didn't believe what they were doing. It means I wasn't moved by what they were doing, or I didn't understand what they were doing. So I'm going to pick any one of those three or say all those three things instead of that wasn't very good. So I can use specificity of language. I assume the actor is where I am. Open. In love. So I can say anything, so you can do anything. So I can say, hey, that was a bit unclear to me. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Can you do that again and clarify whatever it is you're trying to do, and let me look at it again? And you can say the same thing to yourself. You can work with yourself in the same way. So you do something, and you know, in your head, in your heart, you know, that looked horrible. Right? That was gross. That wasn't good at all. Okay. Until you've practiced, maybe those things just slip out. But once that happens, you go, okay. Let me use some specificity of language with myself. And that's when you need to become curious, accept, don't judge, be defenseless if you can. And you go, I just didn't feel it. Right? Hear that all the time. You know? How'd you like that? It wasn't good. Why? I just didn't feel it. I wasn't feeling it. But I'm not sure what that means. And I don't think you know what that means. So, how curious. I wonder what that means, that I wasn't feeling it. Oh, no, that's not what I meant. I didn't do what I wanted to do. Oh, okay, that's different. What did you want to do? I really wanted to make sure that he knew I loved him when I said that line. Oh, okay, great. So is that your objective? That he feels your love? Oh, no. Oh, okay. So now we get into like a whole, we just get into it, right? But it all starts with you, your internal dialogue, and your curiosity, and how you use those tools. Right? So you can just keep going, you know? But my objective actually is to whatever, feel safe or safety. I want safety. So I want to show him love. So the action I'm going to play is caress or hold or lift. So we have that conversation and I go, oh, okay. Were you doing that on that last take? No, I wasn't. So that's what you mean by, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. But through that exploration, the specificity of language, you'll find what it is. And then you can do it. And therefore, I can say anything, you can do anything. It sounds simple, or maybe not, when I break it down like that. And again, it's something to practice, not something to think about. But you can think about it all day and night, and it won't change anything within you as an actor. Right? You may have interesting thoughts about it, and you may be able to discuss it, have a real interesting philosophical discussion about it. But if you're not practicing it with your acting, you won't be able to apply it to your acting. So you gotta grab text. You gotta grab a scene that has always eluded you, or pull new scenes from the internet. Like, it's so easy to get sides, whatever now. And apply these techniques to that text. So, we've got that 24-hour thing that I've asked you to do. It didn't feel good. I don't know what didn't feel good. Yeah, it will take some practice. Yes. Yeah, it takes practice. So, take the assignment would be, or something to work on, is similar to what I did. Take a short piece of text, not like a super long monologue, right? Like a short monologue. Try it out live theater style. See what makes sense, using your whole body, some space, you know, taking a step or two in your blocking, right? And then do the same monologue in a close-up on camera. I don't need to see it or anything like that, but that would be an assignment if you wanted an assignment. The 24-hour thing is not an assignment, that's just life. That's actor life stuff. It's something to try, to see if you can embrace a certain type of philosophy, a certain type of thinking and working. 24 hours, check it. Right? How much training are you doing as an actor? What are your insides doing? What are you doing to change your internal dialogue so that it's helpful? And what are you doing to continue to know who you are? Right? Because that changes all the time. And that's okay. I don't know, Amir, if I may ask you this. Do you want us to submit them anywhere? Is there a place for them to submit?
Yeah, they could email it to you, and I believe they all have their own folders that they could put it in. So they could email it to you and Anna.
Okay, like to my new image account?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do they have that? Do they have that email address?
They should have my new image address.
I could put it up. Is it Raugi@newimage.ca?
No, I think it might be Raugi, but I have to double check.
Okay.
This account
I could actually check for you right now. See.
okay,
So,
account abilities. Also, I've done theater missing and have it on camera. Yeah, if you've done a theater monologue recently, great. And it's on camera, okay. Yep, do it and take it as a close-up. Yeah, sure. Yeah, do that. I mean, you saw my videos, right? It's not like...
Yeah, it's Raugi.
Okay, so Amir's gonna put up my email at my new image email address, so you can email me there. And so I can look at them if you want. But it's really more about, like, I'll look at them because, you know, they're interesting, but it's not about my notes about your two different videos. It's more about your experience with the two different videos. Okay, but yeah, send it to me, I'll look at them, but I want your focus to be not that Raugi's gonna see them. Your focus is going to be, what am I doing? How do I feel when I'm doing this as a live piece? And then what am I doing? How do I feel as I'm doing this as an on-camera close-up piece? What are the differences? What shifts that I have to make in my body, in my mind, in my heart, you know, in my thinking, whatever. Does that make sense to everyone? Oh, accountability buddies. Right, thank you. Great. Great, awesome. So, I don't know, Amir. I mean, I think I've exhausted this topic. You know, it doesn't mean like, you know, no more talking about it. Like, of course, there's always lots more to explore. But in terms of, you know, what we're streaming here, I think that's about it. Yeah, I think this Friday a Zoom thing is going to be set up. It's going to go out to you all. So have it done for like, what day is it today? Tuesday? Wednesday? Have it done for, be ready for Friday. This Friday. Yeah, I believe it'll be like noon or something like that. But a link will get sent out through New Image. This Friday, a Zoom session. And I believe it's 12 p.m. "24-hour map is purely for your own edification. Happy to hear your thoughts about it. When we see each other again, maybe to share with the group. Because time will be limited, though, maybe try to gather your thoughts and put them into like a concise sentence or two, so that we're not just like talking. You know, let's just put it into like a sentence or two, so that you can share it quickly, so that maybe everyone can get a chance to say it. Yeah, short monologue. I mean, like the size of my monologue. That was pretty short. Hey Amir, are you able to allow people to share my two videos with everyone right now, so they can have it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Would it be helpful to you folks if you had access to my two videos that I made? Okay. So yes, Amir can share my 2 videos with all of you. Yeah, Danny, I don't think that's a big deal. Especially if you're with Brandy. So yeah, I mean, this will be my first time doing like a follow-up on Zoom kind of thing, so I'm not exactly sure how it works, but if you drop me a line on my email there, Danny, and reference this, then I'll make sure to look at it. Okay? Yeah, that would be fine. That would be fine. Oh, okay. Yeah, Tristan, if you can link Danny in, go ahead. So what the tiny Raugi was doing in my video, and that was mainly because I was really trying to show the contrast of the live theater thing to the on-camera thing. So the tiny me was really closing up. So the tiny me was like pulling like everything that I was out in the world into me and trying to like protect myself. So I was really working with that, the tiny me doing that kind of thing, right? Seeing my spirit out there, pulling myself in, trying to protect myself. That's what I was trying to do. But in the live theater piece, it was totally different. I was out there, I was like a big, like, you know, come get me kind of thing, right? And again, just to be totally clear, that wide shot is not the wide for the close-up thing that I did. That's an example of a live theater performance. Great, cool. Okay. Great, glad it makes sense. Yeah, okay. So I think that's it. I really appreciate you all, you know, joining me here. Again, like it if you like it, subscribe, ring that bell. There's going to be lots of these. You know, I think they're going to be super informative. During these weird times when we're at home, and I think I've illustrated this pretty clearly, we still need to train as actors. There's a lot you can and must do at home on your own. Great. Yeah, I think that's it, man. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you all being here. Great questions. Great focus. Oh, wide shot in theater style, close up in film style. Everyone press the like button. So just to make sure, Todd. Oh, yeah, okay, great. Aw. Miss you guys too. Yeah, okay, I think that's it. Cool, Amir? Alright, bye. See y'all later.